Welcome in, everybody. I'm Bobby Burton, here on a Monday night Talkin' Ball, sponsored by our friend John Donovan over at Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Guys, I'm solo tonight. Jerry's got a speaking engagement. CJ's off to dinner. Rod's talked out, so it's me talking a little Longhorn football, a little transfer portal as well. A lot of news and notes to get to in that regard, in my opinion. A number of different things to talk about there. As of right now, 5 Texas Longhorns have hit the portal as of today. That's Jonte Cook, the wide receiver, and then 4 defensive players that were all in backup roles for the Longhorns. Jure Bledsoe, the defensive tackle, Darian Gillette, linebacker, Tassili Akana, a defensive end and slash linebacker, and Aaron Bryant, defensive tackle. Those 4 plus Jonte Cook making 5. By comparison, Oklahoma has 10 players hit the portal as of today, including Jackson Arnold, Bauer Sharp, their starting tight end, and Cammie Walker, a guy that played, believe has started 10 games for the Sooners at corner. In total, they are losing at least 53 starts in this group that are leaving them now. Texas A&M had several starters also decide to leave, or guys that had started for them. Cyrus Allen, the wide receiver, Connor Wegman, Akia Agungabe, and Cam Dewberry, all expected to be in the portal as well. So those are a number of different guys going around. There have been a couple of teams that have been hit particularly hard by the portal. Purdue is one of those. They have 2 players that Texas might have interest in there. Cole Brevard, a defensive tackle. He said that he was going to go in the portal. I do not believe his name is officially in there yet. He tweeted that. And then also Dylan Thieneman, the safety as well. One thing to note there is that Purdue coach Barry Odom has just been hired. He is a defensive coach. We'll see if he tries to keep those guys from the portal. Also of note, linebacker Kendall Daniels out of Oklahoma State is in the portal. Linebacker Jacob Manu out of Arizona is in the portal. Of course, he has some previous connection with Texas linebacker coach Johnny Nansen from his time at Arizona. Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton, a sprinter who is very productive, could fill that speed role, a possibility. Jalen Stroman, a safety defensive back out of Virginia Tech, another guy, as well as a Utah punter. Do not remember his name right off the top of my head, but those are some of the guys that we're tracking at this point. I'm going to try to get to y'all's questions tonight as much as I can, and we'll go from there. So please feel free to open up the chat and let's talk a little bit about whether it's this past recruiting class that Texas signed on Wednesday and one more on Friday, whether it's the portal, whether it's the game against Georgia, or a look toward Clemson as well. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can as quickly as I can, and we can go from there. Before we go forward, though, I want to mention this episode brought to you by John Donovan of the Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We would like to thank him. He's a proud Texas Ex's Life member whose wife and 6 siblings are also UT grads. This family passion is what led John to brand his firm Longhorn Wealth Management Group and dedicate it to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends across the country. After enjoying the great welcome party with OTF fans on Friday night in Atlanta, John was really disappointed and frustrated with the Longhorns' loss to Georgia on Saturday. However, the silver lining is the Longhorns rightfully earning the 5th overall seed in the college football playoff and the opportunity to host Clemson. John and the Longhorn Wealth team also want to help all OTF fans find their own silver linings. He's offering a free 90-minute consultation to help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and secure your legacy. Call John and his team at Longhorn Wealth, 972-707-4900, or go online, www.longhornwealth.net, to schedule your free consultation today. All right, let's get started. I'm just going to take as many questions and talk about what you guys want to talk to tonight. Sandman23 just watched a replay of the game for the first time, saw the Barron pick, and he puts it, says pick 6. I am so livid. That had the chance to be a legendary pick 6 and solidify the Thorpe for Barron. He says, turn around and block, Gilbo. I think I may have been saying the same thing as you right at that particular time. I will say this. Jade has not been the best return guy on picks. Some defensive backs just have a feel almost like they're setting it up like a punt return. Jade has not been the best on interception returns. He's had a lot of practice this year, by the way, with 5 picks. But my point being, I was yelling at the TV a little bit there too. I got to admit, nothing wrong with that. I thought that Texas played really well on defense on Saturday. I think that Georgia finally found enough in the run game to win that game, obviously, but it wasn't the secondary per se that really had anything to do with that. And I will say this, I'm not going to get on to Jalen Gilbo for being excited about that play, even though if he does turn around, maybe he makes that block, but Jade Barron still has to set it up. And I'm not sure Jade is a natural return guy like that. So let's be fair on that one. William Neese says, pound Clemson into oblivion and advance. I could not agree more. I mean, Texas has to focus on one thing right now, and that's Clemson. Anything beyond that, it does Texas no good. I know we fans can sit here and talk about it and say, look, if they beat Clemson, then they play Arizona State. If they beat Arizona State, that's all fine and well. But the players themselves, there can only be really one person there that Texas needs to worry about. Clemson has a strong team, in my opinion. Not a great team, but a strong team. They will be plenty good to play against the Longhorns on that week from Saturday. We'll see where exactly that ends up, but some good stuff there going right now. Cam Coleman for real now? I don't think so, unless you've heard something new. I believe that was a fake post earlier today. Matt, our producer, please look that up for me if you don't mind. Cam Coleman, I thought that was a big difference, or was a fake one earlier today. Mr. 817, Mr. Talk Too Much. Special teams gets that much weaker. In preparation for our lunch with the coach tomorrow, I spoke with Brian Irwin earlier today, and he pointed something out to me, guys, that is very telling. I believe both teams had 3 or 4 punts in the game on Saturday. The punting average for Georgia, Cam Coleman was a fake account, Ski Break. The punting for Georgia averaged 53 yards a kick. For Texas, 39. That's basically a 1.5 first down per punt that Georgia had on Texas. That is where Texas last year was averaging 45 yards a boot, 44 to 45 yards a boot. I mean, that's a big, that's a big number to be giving up. Then you add in the penalties, nearly 100 yards of penalties or so. That's a big thing to overcome. Special teams was not very special. The play of the game, though, in my opinion, was the 4th down punt call by Kirby Smart. Yes, that was on special teams too. Granted, it was a really good call, but that's the way it was. Intro, it's Stroh's world. Surprised about Aaron Bryant? Not at all. In fact, I will be honest, of the 5 guys that have gone in to the portal at this point, there is not a surprise for Texas. Those 5, again, Jonte Cook, Darian Gillette, Cecilia Kana, Jere Bledsoe, and Aaron Bryant. Those 5, there's no surprise in any of those. If you would have asked me for the 10 to 13 names I thought might enter the portal, Aaron Bryant would have been on it. I do want to reiterate this, though, and I think it's important because I mentioned it on Coffee and Football this morning. I do not believe any of the players that went into the portal this go round are malcontents. And what I mean by that is that they were, talking bad about the team or behind the team or any of that stuff. None of those kids were. Now, Jonte Cook's a little bit different story, but none of the guys that went in today were in any way malcontents based on what I've been told. So I think that's a good thing. So I do not believe Aaron Bryant was a surprise. I will say this, Aaron Bryant likely had already been passed up a little bit or was told he may not have a major situation available to him because Texas clearly has to get better at this point. King Kunta, would Texas have interest in Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton, who just entered the portal? I think they would, but I don't know that he is the guy that they had or one of the guys that they had looked at previously. I think that's something to think about here as we talk about it. I don't think he's a guy that they knew was going into the portal and were definitely going to attack. Now, could they in retrospect? The answer is yes, because he has some special ability to him, particularly speed, and Texas is going to be looking at a speed option because Isaiah Bond clearly heading elsewhere right now. All right, we got the time for more questions here. We're going to go probably till around 7:45 tonight. I'm going solo. Jerry out at a speaking gig. CJ Vogel also unavailable tonight. Didn't we recruit Cam Dewberry heavily? He's the young offensive lineman out of Atascocita that put his name in the portal today. Salty Q asks, yes, Texas did recruit Dewberry very heavily. I don't know that they would this time around. He started some games for A&M, but ultimately I think that other players may have went ahead of him, including Chase Basantes, who came back and played against the Longhorns for the Aggies at his position. I will also say there was some talk Dewberry might leave last year from A&M. Behind the scenes, we'll see exactly where he ends up. He is an SEC caliber player, though, so we'll see exactly what this means. Look, here's another one. Be careful what you wish for. Sandman 23 says, can we purchase Ryan Williams? Young man, maybe the most electric player in college football starting next year. He is a tremendous player for Alabama, the wide receiver. I'm guessing that Alabama is doing everything they can to preempt that from happening. And if he were to go in the portal, it would be Oregon, I'm sure, would be part of that process. They've been very aggressive in the portal overall as well. All right, Jason Watson, how long will Ryan Day last if they lose the first round of the college football playoffs? 1 day. That's my opinion. I think that from people I've talked to in and around Columbus, from Ohio State fans and some people that are actually in the know there, I think he lasts 1 day if he loses to Tennessee. You can't lose to Michigan at Ohio State, not the way they've done it and not with the talent they've had. This year was just inexcusable, particularly given that Michigan had almost nothing in NIL, maybe $3-4 million at most, is my understanding. And Ohio State spent roughly 15 plus. I think 15 to 20 is the numbers that I've given. And so when you have that's what it is. Bobby Petronic is correct here. 1 Ryan Day. He won't even get fired on the tarmac because it's a home game if they lose to Tennessee. He'll just get fired inside the coach's offices. I absolutely believe that. Lando Griffin, maybe with one of the better questions and something that we all need to think about. Do you think Texas will be able to run the ball against Clemson? I think Texas will be able to run the ball some, certainly more than they could against Georgia. If you really think about it, the only team that has stopped Texas from running the ball effectively has been Georgia. I mean, is the Clemson defensive front better than A&M? Maybe. Is it better than Kentucky? Maybe. Is it better than Arkansas? Likely. But is it better than OU? I don't think so. I mean, OU has better linebackers, in my opinion, than Clemson. OU has a really good defensive front. Texas was eventually able to run against OU. And so I would say I think Texas is going to be able to run the ball somewhat effectively. I don't know if they're going to run them over like they did A&M. Texas controlled the line of scrimmage against A&M from the absolute start of it. All right, here we go. Randy Jones has one for us. What is the status of Isaiah Bond and Kelvin Banks? Bond was seen in a boot post game on Saturday night. Steve Sarkisian had said the next day that he's got rolled up on and it's the same ankle. So obviously we don't have a status. Sark also said players were not going to be practicing through Wednesday of this week. So we haven't heard anything more on that. Kelvin Banks also in a boot after trying to give it a go on Saturday against the Georgia Bulldogs. Banks, though, looked really, really difficult there. I think that this 10-day window or 13-day window, whatever it is, for Texas to play the next game is meaningful, and particularly for Banks. But it could be a while. We'll see if he can make it out by December 21st. The Longhorns, by the way, play Clemson on December 21st. Coming up here. All right, David Parcell, let's get to this super chat. What are your thoughts on a homecoming for an opposing player? Do you think Cade Klubnik could play with the superpowers playing in his hometown? Any need? Do you think he could play with superpower playing in his hometown? Any need for worry? I do think that could be additional motivation, right? It could also be an additional stressor. If you think about it, it can work both ways. I also think that, what does this mean for Quinn Ewers, who wants to overcome a state championship loss to Cade Klubnik? I think that there's a piece there, David, that has an area for monitoring. Klubnik has been pretty effective as the Clemson quarterback historically. The question will be, does he have the personnel around him? I'm a little concerned about Clemson's run game. If I were a Clemson fan, I'd be concerned about Clemson's run game against Texas. I think that Klubnik will likely have to do a lot of things on his own. I hope that makes sense. I think that team does not want to be one-dimensional, and Texas can force you to be that. That can make Klubnik perhaps try to do a little too much, which has gotten him in trouble in previous opportunities against big-time teams. This one from 817, Mr. Talk Too Much. The portal kids are all special teams guys. Actually, I don't think any of them play special teams. I mean, Akana didn't play special teams. Gillette is not on special teams. Cook is not on special teams. Bledsoe not on special teams. I'm missing one more. Who am I missing? Bledsoe, Cook, Akana, Gillette, and Aaron Bryant's not special teams. So I don't think they're worried at all about that. Rick Amber Guy, let's keep going here. I'm trying to get through these as quickly as possible for y'all. Is the quarterback run with Klubnik going to be a problem? UGA controlled the ball in the second half with the backup QB due to QB run. Replay of Dylan Gabriel, Red River Rivalry 2023. Here's the issue. Texas actually has not had issues with the quarterback run game when they've prepped for it. They've had problems with it when they haven't. They didn't really prep for it against Dylan Gabriel because he hadn't run all that much previously. He'd maybe scrambled 2 or 3 times a game. He ran more that day than he had run all year. As far as Klubnik is concerned, he does like to tuck the ball, and Texas will prepare for that, in my opinion. That may give Klubnik more one-on-one looks in the passing game because Texas is going to commit another player in that regard. But I want to add this. One thing that's great about Texas this year, they're getting to the quarterback at a much higher rate. Texas now at 39 sacks on the season. Colin Simmons with 8 of those, the true freshman. Trey Moore has come on in recent weeks. They also have Ethan Burke. Anthony Hill's getting after the passer. Texas has more guys now that can rush the passer while also keeping a spy back. And so I think the QB run game as a quarterback, yes, that's important and something that Texas needs to be aware of. But they're much more prepared and capable of handling that this year than they could a couple years ago. I think the Gunnar Stockton issue was just not being prepared for it. And as Rod said in his second watch with Rod Babers, he talked about them just not making the transition quickly enough to understanding what Gunnar Stockton could do. And that hurt Texas as much as anything. Had Texas been and known what Gunnar Stockton and the type of quarterback he would do, I think Texas could have held Georgia scoreless, to be honest with you. That's where I think, because I think Gunnar Stockton is going to have real problems in the quarterfinals, no matter who he plays, if he has to be the starting quarterback at Georgia. It's unfortunate almost that it worked out that way. I think Texas could have beaten Georgia had Carson Beck stayed the quarterback, frankly. All right, Tony Stavins, our kicker ranks 95th of 115 kickers in field goal percentage. Can Will Stone kick field goals? We need competition at the position. Will Stone actually is the kickoff guy for Texas, left footer. Yes, he can kick field goals. Are they having open tryouts? I don't know. What is it? What is for Auburn now? 14 of 21 on the season, I believe. He did hit 2 down the stretch that were very important. But Bert's got something going on right now, whether it's the yips or just lack of confidence. I'm not sure. Would competition change that? Well, I mean, I think there's a reason he beat out Will Stone in the first place for this job. And so maybe, in my opinion at least, the heir apparent to that position, if Bert Auburn were to leave, may not be on campus right now. Otherwise, he'd be playing instead of Bert Auburn. We'll see, though. You never know what an offseason can bring in that as of now. Salty Q asked, anyone stick out immediately as a Texas lean? I think he's talking about the portal. The answer is no at this time. Like, I don't have anybody that's saying this guy is – I don't have anybody that's already entered the portal, at least not as of 4 o'clock today, that I say is definitely a lean to Texas. I do think that Texas has some interesting guys, and they have some interesting guys that have said they're going into the portal that haven't necessarily gone in yet, too. So we can talk about that a little bit longer. All right, David Parcell, when will we see a Texas fake punt or field goal? Have we needed to see one this year? I mean, other than the Georgia game, has Texas needed to go in that direction? I think it's safe to say that Texas has lost the special teams battle more than a few times this year, but they haven't needed to go for a fake punt or a fake field goal. Other than against Georgia, would that have been okay? I understand what you're talking about with the element of the surprise. At the same time, Georgia tried that fake punt on its own 30. What happens if Texas calls a punt safe halfway through that? Texas has the ball, score tied 13 apiece, and all the momentum. It was a gutsy call from Kirby Smart. And frankly, I think they got Jeff Banks sleeping a little bit on it. What about the other USC receiver? If we can't get Zachariah Branch, I think there's going to be more than one other receiver. I'm not even sure which one you're talking about at this point. One name that was interesting that went in, I don't think Texas will have interest from USC at running back Quentin Joyner. He's out of Maynard, Texas, actually. I think he rushed for 600 yards or so this year. He went in the portal earlier today. He was thought to be maybe their starter at running back next year. So we'll see exactly what that means. Just a dude, Jacob Manu, the linebacker for Arizona, has to be a take, right? I don't think so. Not necessarily, and I'll tell you why. He suffered an ACL tear during the season. Is he good enough to play at Texas? Yes. He was a team captain for Arizona, and one of the reasons why I think their team had a tough year this year. He's a big middle linebacker, would fit pretty well in the SEC, in my opinion. But has to be a take? No, because of injury. Could be a take because of his relationship to Johnny Nansen and his ability? Maybe. All right, here we go. Michael Simpson. I know Flood doesn't like going in the portal for OL, but I'm really nervous about the next year, the line next year, especially inside. Should we get some experienced offensive linemen? My take on this has been no. and I am actually more concerned about the tackle depth than I am the interior depth. I actually think Texas, with Cole Hudson coming back, Connor Robertson's played some at Texas, Nato Umeozulu is coming back. Then you also have guys like Daniel Cruz, Nate Kibble, those guys coming back. Texas has some guys on the interior. The exterior, the offensive tackle group, is more questionable. Trevor Gooseby has proven really quickly to be a good enough player for next year. But Brandon Baker has seen very little time. Jaden Chapman has seen very little time. Malik Ogbo at that tackle position has seen very little time. I think right now those are your first 4 tackles, and only one of them with Gooseby has actually seen enough time. Michael, I'm not as concerned on the interior because I think the younger kids are more adept there. I'm more concerned on when I say exterior, the 2 tackle spots for Texas, because I think right now, the question is, after Gooseby, who's the second tackle? Well, Brandon Baker looks like it, but that would be a true sophomore or a redshirt freshman being your starter at that position. That's going to be tough. This one with Kenneth Cassidy. With the portal closing on December 28th, how will it work if Texas is still in the playoffs? Analysis visits. This is a really good question. Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State today had an interesting discussion. He's going to let his kids go into the portal if they want to, yet still play for the team. That's how some people can use it. Sark doesn't do that. I don't think he'll want to do that. But I do believe that some kids or some players will be able to put their names in the portal. I don't think any guys that are going to be traveling necessarily might do that. Maybe 1 or 2. We'll have to wait and see what that means. I do know that I think we've seen the first round of portals, guys go into the portal. We will see a second round of guys from Texas go in the portal. How do they handle analysis and visits? Well, I do think Texas is going to have some visits from guys in the next week or 2. I think there's no doubt about that. The question is when and how. This weekend is obviously a possibility. We'll see who that is and what the quick turnaround might be there, Kenneth. By the way, I want to add this. They only have to enter by December 28th. They don't have to decide on a school by the 28th. So think about that. They could enter on the 28th and not decide on a school until mid-January. So it's a little ambiguous when you say that it closes on the 28th. Only one piece of it closes at this time. Besides Dax Kelm, besides divine intervention, I have no clue how Stockton held onto the ball after the Makuba hit. Dude is legend now. Yes, I actually thought his helmet was the ball for a half second, by the way, during that game. I was like, whoa, there's the ball. It would have been the 3rd fumble on the drive, by the way, by Georgia. I don't know how they jumped back on those balls so quickly. All right, hey, this one. Bobby, what's your favorite Christmas movie? Now, I am not a pop culture guy, but since I'm doing this show by myself tonight, it's probably Rudolph would be the one with the abominable snowman and Hermie the dentist. That's my favorite one that way. My favorite with actual non-animated characters is It's a Wonderful Life. So I'm old school for you guys. I also like Heat Miser and Snow. Heat Miser and Snow. I can't remember the other one. My wife sings that song every so often. Sean Lee, is Derek Williams coming back? He's expected back. The sophomore out of Westgate in New Iberia injured his knee towards ACL. He's expected back. The question for Derek Williams is when will he get back off of his knee injury? He is rehabbing right now, and it does not look like he's going to be back in time for spring since he had an in-season issue. So we'll see what that means for situation at secondary. We've talked a little bit about this stuff. We think that Texas is probably going to take one safety and maybe one corner. 0 to 1 is our prediction on both of those positions. What's one name in the portal that you'd want Texas to go after? I was looking at this prior to this piece. The one that strikes me right now is Eric Singleton. But I think Texas may have other plans at receiver already. Singleton, the wide receiver out of Georgia. The other names that I would circle, Jalen Stroman, a DB out of Virginia Tech, very, very good player. I think he would play for Texas. He's a good player. And then the punter at Utah. Those are the ones. Two kids at Purdue, Dylan Thieneman, safety, Cole Brevard, defensive lineman. But I don't know that Brevard's even gone in yet, even though he sent out a note saying that he was going in at that time. All right, we have time for a couple more questions. I want to say thank you to our sponsor one last time here. That is John Donovan, proud UT alum. John served 15 years as a Dallas, Texas Exhibit Board member. He's now helping lead the build-out of the Collin County Texas Exhibit chapter. John wants to remind everyone that while the holiday season can be busy, it can also provide some downtime to really focus on positioning your financial plans to enter 2025 on the right path. John and the team at Longhorn Wealth want to remind everyone to take advantage of a free 90-minute private consultation to evaluate how John, as a certified financial planner, can help you identify the best financial strategies and solutions to maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and secure your legacy. Call John and the Longhorn Wealth team 972-707-4900 or go online longhornwealth.net to schedule your free private consultation today. John hopes to see you all in Austin in 2 weeks to cheer on the Longhorns against Clemson. All right. I've got a few more questions here. I'm going to ask this one from King Quinta. Would this be considered a must-win for Sark since he hasn't won a bowl game? He's 0-2 at Texas. And both losses to Washington, right? I mean, his first year he didn't go. Second year he played in the Alamo. Third year, college football playoff. No, I don't consider it a must-win for Texas, as if like a must-win would mean there's some sort of fallout because of it. And I'm unaware of any fallout that might come from Sark not winning this game. I just don't see that. I mean, what you're going to not have the guy that has led you to 2 straight college football playoffs and just all of a sudden, after 15 years in the darkness, do away with it? No. Jonathan McKay, hey, Bobby, since it's just you, I wanted to candidly thank you for building On Texas Football to what it is today. Can't believe that you're at 60,000 subs. We'll be at 100K in no time. Hook 'em, Jonathan. Thank you, and thanks to all of you guys for being part of it. When I first started doing this, I think I didn't have our producer, Matt, that makes things look nice up here. I did it with a Zoom camera on my laptop, and there was a black background, no orange things, no there's nothing but that. And I was just speaking into a camera, and to see what we do today and the people that we have with us, whether it's Jerry Hamilton or Rod Babers or CJ Vogel, Coach Shipley, Brian Irwin, Brian Robeson, Stevie Lee, who am I? Obviously, our producer, Matt. It's been a great ride the last year and a half, 2 years, and you guys have all made it possible, and we absolutely appreciate it as well. I don't think so. Nathan asked, does the playoff require an injury report? The SEC required an injury report. The other college football teams did not have to give one. It was just the SEC. So I'm going to say, Nathan, no. Why would they? But I don't know for sure. Let me see if I can't look that up. But I would highly doubt that it requires an injury report because it's not an NCAA rule. It was just an SEC rule in part as response to Kayshon Boutte, the wide receiver out of LSU, I think it was his name, that was betting on games and with some intimate knowledge of they believe that he could have had intimate knowledge about about injuries. Now, I'm not sure all of that. And so I'm going to say allegedly or whatever, but That's one of the things. I don't think they will have to do that. Mark Vasquez or VKZ. Bobby, do we have a shot to win the championship? Not just win this game, but win the championship. Yes. I think Texas does have that shot. I think that Texas has to play better to win it. I mean, let me ask you all this. Is there one game this year where you saw Texas play that you thought, this team can win a national championship? I've seen one game so far this year where I really believe that. That was Michigan. That's now 10 games ago. So, given that, I still think they have it within them. I think Quinn is still laboring a little with the oblique. How much? We'll see. But it's affecting him a little bit. I think also Texas does not have good matchups against certain teams. The teams that I don't necessarily think Texas match up well against, if Carson Beck is there, is obviously Georgia. I think Notre Dame could be a tough matchup for Texas because of their size. And they can neutralize the Texas defensive front with their offensive line a little bit. And they got a great running back. Beyond that, Oregon obviously is a team that can do it. Ohio State, you just got to see if their offense is clicking or not, and whether Will Howard is the guy that throws interceptions or the guy that throws touchdowns that day. As much as Quinn has been up and down at times, Will Howard's very similar in that regard, hot or cold, maybe, but I think with less talent than Quinn. All right, MJF. We've been able to bring some players that left the state of Texas back via the portal. Are there any out-of-state high school players in portal now that we might want to bring back? Well, I mentioned Quentin Joyner, the running back at USC. I don't think that's going to be one. Bear Alexander's in the portal, the defensive tackle. I don't think that's one. He's out of USC. He gave up on his team this year midway. By the way, I think that may be hurting Jonte Cook a little right now in the portal brouhaha, leaving a team midseason. Not necessarily the look you want. There's not a list, MJF, for me to give you and say, hey, this is it as of right now. All right, Juan Garza here. What do you think of Bear Alexander in the portal? There's info he's targeting Texas. A year ago, I think Texas definitely would have taken Bear Alexander had he decided to come. But he didn't. And now I'm not so sure Texas is as hot on that trail, because what's happened is he's become a little bit of a journeyman. And I don't know that Texas is looking, and I want to say this the right way, I'm not saying they won't take Bear Alexander. I don't have that information unequivocally. But I want to say this. Texas is going to have to take players in the portal at defensive tackle that they can rely on. They can't take another Ajay Hall. They can't take flyers at defensive tackle. Not with 6 guys leaving. So don't look for Bear Alexander at this point in his career is a flyer. You're taking a chance on someone. You don't know what he brings or will bring. Texas can't do that right now. I've looked at this roster over and over and talked extensively about it. They have to get depth at defensive tackle. You can't. As of right now, their leading defensive tackles next year will be Alex January and Sadir Mitchell and Melvin Hills, and there's no guarantee that all 3 of those will be back either. So Aaron Bryant just entered his name. So Texas has to go to the portal for defensive tackles, and they need to find people they can count on. Is Bear Alexander one of those? I don't know. Bobby, what's your favorite recruiting class? 2001. I covered it. I was the national editor of Rivals.com at that time. I made Vince Young the #1 recruit in the country. And I got to see Vince Young play 3 times his senior year in person. Helped pick the Army All-American game that year, etc. Saw Justin Blaylock and Casey Studdard and guys like that. Cedric Griffin. Cedric Griffin was the year before. That was my favorite, Justin. And it was also when I was a little bit younger. And so I was out and about traveling every week, not unlike what Jerry still does to this day. Spence GPT, do you think a power heavier running back could be on portal watch list? Yes. We talked about this in yesterday's portal madness video. I think that we could see a bigger running back in this. Now, I think we could also see none. So I'm not saying Texas has to go do this or will definitely go do it. But that's my take right now. They could do that, and I think that's a real possibility. Rick Amber guy, Texas needs a reliable swing tackle. Is Jaden Chapman that guy? My understanding right now is that the backup left tackle after Gooseby is Malik Ogbo, and he's more of the swing guy than Chapman. Chapman has split his time between guard and tackle, so he's a little bit different body build. Malik Ogbo in that category right now for him. Michael Taff, Tiffany Womack wants to know, is Michael Taff coming back? And the answer is we don't know yet. He walked at senior day, but he's got a decision coming up for him, for himself. He could come back. He could go. He's going to graduate, clearly. He already had a lot of hours heading into Texas as it was. We'll see what happens. I don't think, and I will add this, as of last week, I know someone that spoke directly with someone there, and that was not decided as of last week. He walked because a bunch of his friends were walking on senior day, not necessarily because he was definitively gone. So take that for what it's worth. Bobby Petronic, next year's Christmas card needs to have Bobby with a mayo dipped in corn dog. Come on, Bobby. Don't. I can't let that follow me everywhere I go the rest of my time in this chat or anywhere else. I appreciate you guys, though. All right, I've got time for a couple more questions. I'm going to say this. Okay, I hope that everyone is enjoying what we're doing right now at On Texas Football. I think that it's helped bring a lot of Longhorn fans together. And I hope we're able to continue to do that through this vehicle. And I want to get going that. All right, let's see. Last one. What do we have? Congratulations. Travis got a congratulations on 65K. The wife says hi. Travis, thank you for the bottle of Super Texan, by the way, too. Much love to you and OTF. Appreciate it, Travis. Nice to see you the other day at the co-op. By the way, we will be back at the co-op. Not this week, but next week on Friday. Please come by and stop by, Travis. You get a chance. Bryant Flory, sorry. Is it me or Javion Cole hasn't showed up? He has not played much. They are trying to add some good weight to him. Just so you know, talented player, trying to add some weight. He came in a little slight, which is not abnormal. I came from a smaller program at San Jose State by way of Cal Poly. So, I think that's the lowdown there as far as Javion Cole guy. All right, that's going to do it for today or for tonight for Talkin' Ball. I wish I could have got to more questions. There's people talking about Eric Singleton visiting Georgia, Auburn, and Ole Miss. He's from Douglasville, Georgia. Probably wants to stay in the Deep South and just play in the SEC. So there's no doubt about that kind of stuff. There's others as well. All right, guys, that'll do it. Again, 5 Texas players in the portal as of this moment: Jonte Cook, Jeray Bledsoe, Darian Gillette, Cecilia Kana, Aaron Bryant, OU with 10, and I believe A&M with 13 or 14 now in the portal. It'll be another year of heavy attrition for the Aggies. All right, that'll do it. Matt, thank you so much. Matt Hutchison. Thank you also to John Donovan, our sponsor for the Talkin' Ball. You guys have a good night. We'll be back in the morning. Myself, Jerry Hamilton, as well as Blake Monroe for, guess what? Coffee and Football. Welcome, everybody. Have a good night.